So this is what studying life without if there is no classification or the systematically arranged data. Okay, so both classification and systematics, they will provide the framework, okay, for organizing and understanding the incredible diversity of the living organisms. Okay, so classification itself, it means putting life into an order. Okay, so it's the process of arranging organism into groups. Okay, so classification is process of arranging organism into groups, also known as taxa. Okay, and how they are putting themselves into the group, either based on their similarities or the differences between them. Okay, so it's about creating a logical and hierarchical system that will reflect the relationship between the living things. So again, why this is needed? Because we should have a organization of the data, okay, to make the sense of the vast diversity of the life, the identification. So if you want if you saw some random species, then if it is already organized and we know about it, then we can easily identify it, right? So for the easily identification and naming of the organism, this classification systematic is needed. Then communication also. So suppose if I'm sitting in America, and if someone is sitting in the Africa, so I want to name suppose a plant species. So if there is a common scientific name, then I will just ask him to pick that plant only. Otherwise, if I say something in my language, and then if he picks it somewhere, some other plants, because the name is different in the Africa, so it will be a mess, right? So for the better communication, a common language for the biologist, the classification and systematics are much needed. Okay, and then to study, or we can say the research to facilitate the study of the evolutionary relationship and the biological process, the classification systematics, they are much needed. Okay, so how does actually it works? How does classification it works? So basically, the organism, they are grouped, okay, based on shared characteristic. So first is the morphological, that is the physical appearance. Okay, then the organism can also be divided according to the anatomical feature, that is the internal structure. Okay, then physiological features, and we can also divide the organism based on their genetic makeup. Okay, next let's talk about the taxonomic hierarchy. So organisms, they are arranged in a series of nested categories from the broadest to the most specific, okay, in the taxonomic hierarchy. Okay, so the taxonomic, the broadest level will be at the top, that is the kingdom. The next is the phylum, then comes the class, then comes the order, then comes the family, then comes the genus, and the last is the species. Okay, so this is like classifying the organism, okay, based on the hierarchy. So suppose if we are talking about the human, then the human belongs to the kingdom Animalia. Okay, here we are talking about the human. Okay, then the phylum is the Chordata, the class is the Mammalia, we are mammals. Okay, order is the primates, the family is Hominidae, the genus we know that Homo, and the species is sapiens. Okay, so now next let's quickly talk about the systematics. Okay, so systematics is all about unraveling the evolutionary relationship. So the systematic, it goes beyond the simple classification. Okay, it's the study of evolutionary relationship between organism. Between organism. Okay, so the aim of the systematic is to reconstruct the tree of life. Okay, showing how different species they are related to one another. So why it is important, why the study of the systematics is very important. It is important to understand the evolution. Okay, understanding evolution. So by this, to trace the history of life on earth, we need systematic. Okay, and then to predict the traits. So through systematics we can also infer the characteristic of the extinct ancestors. Okay, then the conservation of endangered species and their habitat. Okay, we can prioritize. And then for the biotechnological interventions, so for the biological intervention, the systematics, that will help for the identification of the organism with the useful genetic resources, right? Suppose if I told you, right, there is a plant, there are 10 plants, and among 10 only 2 will have the great stress tolerance, so they can survive the stress like flooding, even the more heat or the cold. So then we can select, right, those 2 plants only. Okay, so the systematic helps in that.